That's all good with that. Boomer and Gio are now in a. That's weird. It's not really like when I got involved with stuff. I viewed everything as a war that I had to win. It's almost like they're reluctantly getting involved in this little war of the words with Christopher Mad Dog Russo, who's over at Sirius Satellite. I brought it up yesterday because Russo made some comments about WFAN and where it is right now as a radio station, and specifically about their afternoon show, and it also took a shot at the rest of the day, the lineup at WFAN. And then Boomer reacted to it, really sticking up for the afternoon show and the radio station, and then Russo responded to that. For 10 years, you and Carton buried me for going to Radio Nowhere, for being irrelevant, being on satellite, and now I say one little thing, and you're very sensitive and insecure about it. But what's weird about it is that it doesn't seem like they fully want to engage in it, right? So I'll give you my 2 cents on it. Number one, Mike Francesa and Chris Russo were nothing but complete assholes to me and Boomer when we got to WFAN, and I called them on it every single day of the week. And I called them on it to their faces. And I attacked them through the show every single chance I got. Matter of fact, I brought Chris Russo on our show from the San Francisco Super Bowl and called him an a-hole to his face and told him why I had a problem with him and engaged him in it, and he responded to it. But we went out of our way, me especially, of attacking those guys because I felt that they were disrespectful to us when we first started the show. So the problem with this little radio skirmish right now is that the show that's in question, that's really being attacked, is the afternoon show at WFAN. Well, you got to fight your own battles. So if you want to get involved to protect a fellow show, which is admirable for Boomer to do, then you got to go all the way on it, and let's roll up our sleeves and let's get at it. When Chris Russo went to satellite radio, he immediately became irrelevant in the radio landscape. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. There's only 2 shows or channels in the history of Sirius Satellite Radio that are relevant. One is Howard Stern, and the other is Barstool. There is not another channel on Sirius Satellite Radio that has any true relevance outside of a couple people in New York that might have heard of a performer. None. Howard Stern and Barstool are the only 2 move the needle type of shows. Now, Russo did say one thing that I do agree with. The best way to fight back when someone attacks you in this line of work is to get ratings. If you have ratings, you could shut everybody up. Period. Stop. If you don't have ratings, you can still attack other people, but at the end of the day, someone's going to take a look and say, let's compare what I did when I was there, and let's compare what you're doing. And that's what Russo was saying.
They're gonna call them. They're gonna bring up the receipts.
And by the way, I would do the same thing if I was in a fight with any other show and I had been there before and it was a legitimate fight. I would say, here's what I did.
Yeah.
Let's see what you're doing.
Bring out the receipts.
And that's what Russo's saying. If the afternoon show wants to shut him up, all they got to do is get ratings. Now, to be fair, they've only been on the air for a couple of months. You cannot judge a show on a couple of months. You can have an opinion on it for sure, and the show's struggling right now, but they got to find their way. And I've said a million times on my Twitch account, on the podcast, on this show, they're either going to find their way or they're not. And the audience is going to decide that for them. And after the year is up, because they deserve a year, if the ratings suck, they're going to be fired.
And that's the bottom line.
And that's just the way. Look, by the way, we're doing this show. I'm going to be as transparent as possible. I own half this show from a revenue standpoint. I own it. If this show doesn't produce enough revenue for the guys that also write the checks for everyone, a year later, guess what they're going to say? We're not writing another check next year. If we don't get advertisers and sponsors and make money and get attention and ratings and viewers and listeners, and that's the landscape of what we do for a living. You're a bartender by trade.
Yes.
On the weekends. If you're not selling any drinks, guess what? You're fired. You can't dance. You can't sing. You don't like to be demonstrative. Look, you don't got a poor little Mexican guy who didn't get you ice fast enough. So if people stop buying drinks from you, you're out. If no one wants to listen or see this show, we're out. I'd make more money than both of you because I own it. But I'd be looking for another job. So no one should fight your battles for you. Come on, Bart Scott. Get in the fight. Fight back. Carton and friends.
Right for you. Thanks. I think someone has a